Good, thank you very much for joining. We'll be doing a Let's Build on Forge. Forge, the profiling tool that we work with. My name is Weistra. I work at FHIR, and I'm the product owner there for Simplifier and Forge. We'll be using both of them today. And I'm here with my colleagues, Vadim and Nick. They will also be walking around. They have much more modeling experience than I have on FHIR, so if anything technical difficult comes up, then I'll be handing you over to them. This is roughly our schedule. We have 36 minutes about now, which is gonna be short. I have like 4 exercises, and well, you shouldn't be sad when you don't finish them all. You can finish them at home still. We just try to see how far we get, and then I'll spend the last 10 minutes on recapping the answers that I made and how you could do things. So yeah, roughly, I'll do a short introduction, then do the exercises, and do a recap. I've placed everything here, so this is the only thing you need to type over. Simplifier.net/Forge Let's Build. So this is a Simplifier project. It does contain in the resources all the answers to the things that I made to the exercises, so don't directly go in there. But it also has the link to the exercises in the description. So that's where you find a link to the PDF that you need to download. One important thing, and I hope that a few of you have already done this, is that we need to install Forge. Can I maybe see a show of hands of who has installed Forge on his laptop? You're such a good student. Perfect. So that's great. It takes, well, it doesn't take that long, but we don't want to bring all the Wi-Fi down. If you haven't done it yet, there's still some time. So in the PDF with the exercises, you find the instructions where to download it and how to install it. Good, so then I'll start in the meantime with a short introduction just about what Forge is and just to get you started on the interface. So this is the FHIR ecosystem of the tools that we have, and we'll be focusing today on the left part. So here you have the profile authors who are building their profiles with Forge, what this session is about. Forge is a desktop application. You can build your nice profiles here, and then you can publish that to Simplifier. Simplifier is a FHIR registry, and it's a collaboration platform where you can work together with your team on your FHIR profiles. You can validate. You can do basically everything that you need to do for building your FHIR and publishing your FHIR profiles and your resources and IGs and packages. And then it comes to the implementers. The implementers take those profiles and they can put them in a FHIR server, and they can map the data to that to those profiles. So they will be using Simplifier too, and they will be, for example, using our FHIR server Vonk or some other FHIR server, of course, and be loading the profiles from Simplifier into Vonk, and then you have your data model loaded. And then you actually have a FHIR server with data in there. And then it comes to the developers who then need to build things on top of that server, on top of those FHIR APIs. And we have the FHIR.net API. That's something we maintain. It's open source. And that's something you can use to build your .NET FHIR apps on top. And that's also what's underlying all of our tools. So it's all doing the same validation and the same snapshot generation and those kind of things. So that's our ecosystem. We'll be focusing today on the profile authors and on Forge. So what is Forge? So first of all, Forge is a graphical editor. You install it on your laptop. You can see the XML behind it. It can also save JSON, but it has a nice overview, a nice visual overlay where you can easily add things, and it will also do all the validation to make sure that you produce valid FHIR resources. It can make many different FHIR resources. We'll be focusing on profiles and extensions today, but you can also make your logical models to model your own data models, for example, when using the FHIR mapping language. That's very useful. And you can also model the source parameters and operation definitions that you might use. It is a Windows desktop application. If you have a Mac or if you have Linux, you can install it, but you will need to use Wine or you need to use a VM with Windows on there. And the instructions are in the PDF. There are different Forge versions for each major FHIR version. So currently we still have the DSTU2 for download, then the DSTU3, the STU3 and the R4. and the latter two, we're still maintaining those actively. So we're bringing out new versions of those. Make sure that for today you have the version for FHIR 4. And a recent change that we made is that Forge is no longer fully free. If you're really using it in your day job, if you're depending on this, if it makes you more productive, we request you to get a license for that. But if you're using it non-commercially, and what we mean with that is like using it personally or using it for education, you're giving it training, or you're just learning FHIR, you're exploring Forge to see whether it's the right tool for you, then you can just use it without a commercial license. The team who's working on this, Forge, is really a one-man band, Michel Rutte. He can be with us this week, but he's the main guy behind Forge, and also snapshot generation in the API. I'm sure many of you have seen him at some point. Then Simplifier, Martijn Harthorn is the lead developer there. He's also walking around here. He gave some package talks. And then we have our 3 Romanians, Paul, Renata, and Alex. And we have Martin from our FHIR team also with us today. So these people work on that. And then let's dive into the tool. I have Forge for R4 open here. Let me go back to where we start. So this is the opening screen. Oh, it doesn't move on your side. Okay, good. Then I'm going to probably look behind myself or duplicate my screen. That's probably best. Or was it just a PowerPoint feature? Yeah, just, okay, good. So this is where you come in, opening Forge. Here we have the news feed. And that is coming straight from our Simplifier FHIR project. And there we publish whenever there's a new version of Simplifier or Forge. The application will also automatically tell you when there's a new version of your application, so then it can let you update. And then here are your recent documents. You'll probably start without any, but then you would open a new project folder, and you just choose a folder. So I would recommend you to make a specific folder for this exercise on your disk and use that as your profile folder. And that's basically a profile folder is basically the same as what you would normally call the contents for an IG or a project on Simplifier, or probably also what would be one package when you start versioning. So open your profile folder. A few things to note here. I'm using this folder, my Forge.build. build. You can choose whether you prefer XML or JSON. It will try to remember that when it starts saving. You see that mostly in the user interface, it will show you XML, but you can save it as either. That's just based on your preference. And then if you want to make sure that it also indexes subfolders, make sure that you click this one, and then we select a folder. So then we're here. I already made some resources here. You can see them here listed, but let's start by making a new one. So we have a big new button here, and then we can make multiple different things. And we'll focus in the beginning, in the first exercise, on making a new resource, and later we'll also see that we'll make an extension here, or that we'll make a derived profile. So a profile that's based on another profile. And then finally, so when I start a new, I just make a random profile here that we don't need. When you want to create a new one, make sure you give it a name first. So let's give it my appointment. Well, if I change this, you'll see that if I call it my appointment 2 or something, you'll see that be updated automatically in the canonical URL and in the file name. So it's easier if you just change that one first. And then make sure during your exercises that you give it a unique URL. So make up your own, or if you have your own domain, use that one. I use, for example, Weistra.nl for this. And I even use the specific folder behind that for this exercise. So then later when you start resolving or referring to your own profile, you make sure that it only points to your profile and not someone else who's doing the same exercise. Because then you get really confused on what you've made. And also, of course, for good practice, you need to make sure that there's one unique canonical URL. So when you've made that one, this is what it shows. So here's still your navigation, your file navigation. And this is where you see in the element tree basically your profile broken down in the different elements. And you can click on them, and then you get all the different options, like you can change the cardinality, etc. There's a lot of things that you can do here. So that's what we'll be diving through this exercise. A few hints. If you mouse over, you see the nice descriptions of everything that comes directly out of the out of the profile itself, so you have some indication of what is what. And when you made a change, you will see this little pen icon. That will mean that you have modified something. And Forge will also directly, when for example, I start making a slice here, but I have not defined the discriminator yet, Forge will tell you so. So you will see that there's this icon here. You can find back that there is a validation error in there. It will directly do that on the fly, every change you make. And it will tell you here, this is descriptions that come straight out of the FHIR definition. So Forge will help you find those. That is a few of the hints I wanted to give at the beginning. Then how to help yourself. There is here a help button that will point you to the docs.simplifier.net, and then specifically the Forge department there. There's a lot of documentation here, so you can always look here if you're looking for a specific feature. Then we have the Profiling Academy, which is more like what we're doing today. I've stolen a few of my exercises from this Profiling Academy, so you can do more here. Just look at a module that you're interested in. I don't know, logical models, for example, you can learn by yourself from the Profiling Academy. And then finally, yeah, so there's many more links you can click here. You can also go straight to Simplifier. Later we'll also be opening files from Simplifier or saving them to Simplifier, publishing them to Simplifier. And then finally, if you really want to show that you've been to this session and you want to look like a professional, you can switch it to nighttime. Forge already had a dark mode before it was very hip. So if you want to do that, then feel free to do so. I think that's all I wanted to say then. Let's dive into the exercises. I hope everyone found the PDF. Did people find the PDF? No? Okay, so please go to the link that I mentioned before. Go to simplifier.net/forge-let's-build. And then here you'll find the link to the exercises, the PDF. So once you're there, we have 4 exercises. One is on basic profiling, and then the second one will start on terminology. Also a very important part of FHIR. In the third one, we have extensions. You can reuse an extension or make your own extension. And then finally, in the fourth, we make derived profiles. And we'll start with something advanced called slicing. So with that, I encourage you to start profiling, and then we'll just walk around and let us know if you have any questions. So we have about 7 minutes left. I think it's probably best if I start doing a bit of a wrap up. Don't feel bad if you didn't finish the exercises. It were too many exercises, but you can finish them at any point. Just continue profiling at home. You have the questions, you have the answers. So let me show you what I made, and then if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. We have experts in the room who actually can answer those questions. So first we started with the patient, right? Who did get to finish exercise 1? Okay, seems to be everyone. Exercise 2, anyone? Yeah, a few. Exercise 3, anyone? No? Someone skipped directly to 4? No? Okay, good. Then I know where we are. So first one, the cardinalities, I guess everyone found that, right? You can just find the cardinalities here. One confusing thing was that you can basically not click this button, right? So that is because it's based on the resource, the parent resource, and that has already constrained it to a maximum of 1. So we cannot make it broader than the parent resource. We can only constrain that. The profiles always only constrain their parent. So those were the cardinalities from the first one. Let's get the exercise here. Yeah, thank you. Here we are. Then, was there anything else here? Yeah, so make sure you have a good, nice URL for it. So this is where you find all the metadata, right, in your FHIR profile. So if you ever want to change them after creating, that will be here. This is the element tree, and then here you can really look at the XML. And again, you can save it as JSON, it's just not showing that you're here. Second one, we wanted to first make sure that the conditions Well, first you needed to choose which profile you wanted. I went for a condition that fit very well with my naming here, but there are probably other ways to do it. And then they want to make sure that it only can contain SNOMED CT codes, and they only want to use from a specific value set that has the clinical findings. So then let's open the condition. So this is how we go back to the folder. We can leave this one open. You can switch back to it easily. Where's my condition? Here. So we made a condition profile, and then on the code, we set so on the code we set the value set binding here to required. So there's this value set binding that you can find there, and we set it to required. I found this nice one, clinical findings. I'm not sure if anyone else found this one. Yeah, some. It's not necessarily good or bad. So as you found out, finding these value sets and also later finding extensions to reuse is just not a very simple process. You'll need to, FHIR has some default ones. You can always look through that. That's probably the best case. And if there's nothing there, you could go to Simplifier and see if anyone in the community already defined another one that you might want to reuse. But of course, yeah, it's very good to reuse. That makes it much more interoperable. But of course, carefully look what you made. So one question, Vadim, maybe I can ask to you. Setting also the coding system on this one is a bit double, right? You don't necessarily need to do that because we already fixed this to this value set that only contains SNOMED CT codes. Okay, good. Okay. And then we wanted to make sure it can only refer to our specific patient. So there is this, in the condition, there is this subject reference. What is the condition talking about? And here, what I did, I made sure that our target profiles do not include the default ones anymore, but only include my canonical URL here. So this is my hospital X patient. So make sure that then the people can only couple the right things to each other. So you prevent basically anyone implementing this to make a mistake here. And the nice thing is also when you go to Simplifier, I'm not sure if anyone was able to already create a project on Simplifier and upload it to there. No? Okay, good. Well, you'll end up with basically what I made here. So this is a project in Simplifier, and every free account has a project. You can make a project in your own portal. So you can go here to portal and create a new project. And here I can search, also in here I see my nice patient profile. I've uploaded that one. I have a condition profile. And the nice thing from Simplifier is that you will see a nice rendering here, just like in the FHIR spec, and you can work with that. And we can also clearly see here, so this is a snapshot, but if we look at the differential, you see only the things that we have actually changed compared to our parent profile. And when you go to references here, you can also see what our parent profile is. So we're constraining a parent profile a patient, which is just the core resource. But you also see that in a later exercise, I made a constraint on this profile again, more limited set for New Zealand specifically, that is also linked here. And you see that we reference, profile is being referenced from that hospital condition. So this is what these canonicals do. It knows exactly what's pointing to what. So let's look at the condition here. And in the condition we see, looking at our differential, that we can only refer now to hospital X patient. And if you click there, you go to that specific patient and the code. So I see there's 1 minute left. Are there any burning questions? I think you can find the answers to the other questions in the sheets here. Any burning questions still that we want to cover? Good, and I'll quickly show the other two parts of it. So for the New Zealand patient, I made a derived profile. As I just showed, it was derived on that one. So this is the exercise 4. Here we made a slice. I'm not sure if you're familiar with slicing. It's kind of a complex concept at first, but identifier allows for a long list of identifiers. Basically what we're doing with slicing is we're saying, okay, out of that long list, let's make a few sublists. And I first make one sublist where, okay, this one, there needs to be at least one official identifier in here. And then there can be 0 to star unofficial ones. So we basically make 2 sublists within there and give them different criteria. So that's what we did here. And then finally, on our patient, we used extensions. So you can see the extensions here. We included one birthplace that's already defined in the FHIR core, and we made our own inclusion status here, which is also on Simplifier. So you can again click this and go there. Yeah, so I encourage you to finish those exercises at some point if you want to know the basics of profiling and how to do it with Forge. And yeah, let me know if there are any questions still left. Okay. Well, if not, thank you very much, and I hope that you'll continue to use it. Yeah. Thank you.